answers with that same question of, hey, you know, what put you in the market for a vehicle? What's the story behind what you needed when you came down?
Please.
I came over to buy one because I needed one. Had a car 15 years old with 100,000 miles. So I came over, our family bought several. Also wanted to help Jason out a little. I thought he was having trouble getting them through.
Please.
Well, my first car that I ever had wasn't really my car. It was something I was kind of, my parents have given me because I played sports in high school, and they just kind of handed it over. So I drove it all through high school until last year. It finally died, and it just gave up on me. And it was the right time. Like, I needed to finally, like, really be an adult and get my first car. So I tried other places. I walked around, and nobody was ever really helpful. And just, I don't know if it was because it was my first car. Like, I just couldn't get the help that I needed to, like, get started. And went to Auto Advantage. Immediately, I pulled into the parking lot and get out, and BJ is standing outside, and he's just ready to go. And we get to looking around, and we're just walking the lot, and then he found now my car, and he's like, this is the one for you. And so he told me about it. We test drove it. In the middle of test driving, you know, I really got to know him as a person, you know, tell me about his wife and his kid on the way, and just had a really good time and, like, connected really well. And we got back, and he came up to me, and he's like, congratulations. And my first response was, wait, is this really happening? And it did. I got my very first car thanks to BJ and his just, like, dedication to really, like, trying to get people what they want and what they need. So.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
So in October, I was in a wreck, and my car was totaled, and so I needed a new car. It was really inconvenient not having one, so I got one as soon as I could, and I came to Auto Advantage, and I was really pleased with the experience.
Awesome. Thank you. Sir?
For us, including, everyone said four-wheel drive was a big one in the winter, but that's an X amount of time. For us, the big one was more room for our family. We have 5 kids between us, so we'd always have to take 2 cars. And the third row seating was a big one for us, which we got. To be perfectly honest, we really didn't have an intention of buying a car that day, and Alex came out and greeted us and was pushy but respectful too, which was important to us, and took us on a test drive and really liked a lot of the features, and like I said, third row seating, and we really wanted to get out of the car we were in before because we got pushed into that one, and we didn't really feel any pressure to make that deal, and you know, Auto Advantage made the deal for us really and made it worth our while, and did everything they could to get us the deal we wanted and into a better car, which we were happier with. So we were really excited about that, and now we can take all the family where we want to go in one trip instead of 2 cars. So
That's certainly important. Anyone else? Sir, please.
Well, it started out for me as my son came to me, and he was needing a new vehicle. So we took off one morning and went looking around everywhere, and we really didn't see anything we liked. We was not pleased with a lot of stuff we seen out there, the prices. We ended up at Auto Advantage, and we looked around for a little bit. We were greeted. Everything was went pretty good. Everybody was very helpful on the questions we had. And while we were there, my son ended up picking a truck. He ended up getting it. And I started telling Jason, was the one that helped us out, that just the day before, my work van had broke down. So we were talking, and I really wasn't in a market at that particular time to get a vehicle, but I liked everybody so much, and they helped my son, and everything went really well, that I ended up talking to him, and we ended up getting me a car, actually getting a truck that I needed very, very much to keep going with my business. So that day, my son got a nice vehicle, and so did I, and I was able to keep running my business. So it really worked out really well, and everybody there was very kind and professional.
Thank you. Ma'am?
I just wanted to say too, on BJ and Blake have also helped our oldest daughter and her family in getting in a vehicle that they needed. They had one older car that was not very reliable, and they've got a broken down Durango and stuff. So they really needed to get into something that was more reliable. And BJ found them a Mazda SUV. It's got the third row seating and all the features that they really needed. And it happened to fit their budget and everything, which is one thing that we have found with Blake, that he has been really good about, working within our budgets and everything, which is really important to us when you're living on retired, like my husband said, he's retired Air Force and everything, so when you're living on limited income and everything, it's really important to have a car that'll fit your budget. And same way with Amanda, her car payment happened to fit her budget and everything, which they really, and I'm really happy that with the way that they have helped us, as a family, they have really gone above and beyond to help us as a family to make sure that everybody got into, a safe, reliable vehicle.
Thank you. All done with that question? Anybody else want to chime in?
My wife has a little sports car, little two-seater, a lot of fun, but it's small. I had trouble getting in it. We couldn't take it on a long trip, limited space for luggage. And we had talked about trading, doing something different. And when I trade vehicles, Auto Advantage is the first place I go. I've bought several. And when I got there, talked to Anthony, he showed me a couple of cars. We first thought we might try to compromise between a sports car and something else, and I didn't feel comfortable in that. And Anthony said, well, look at this Honda, and went out and drove it, and it was just the car we needed. My wife loves it. She likes driving it, and we've now got room in the back for all the grandkids. So that was kind of our story.
Yeah, that's a solid reason. He's the preacher at Emma's Grove, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody at Auto Advantage has helped him or his family. His sons bought cars from us, I believe, right?
Yes.
So Christopher, as they're talking, you can do that, converse with them. If somebody's done and you want to immediately ask a follow-up question, ask it.
Okay.
Or just draw something else out, do that, so it's conversational too. Anyone else on that? What brought you there in the first place?
Yes, ma'am.
I had a car that had 200 and some thousand miles on it, and I was afraid to go anywhere. I just moved up here, and I don't feel safe. I was renting cars. And I found it on the internet, and Brenton had everything ready when I came in, and I really love my car.
Awesome.
I know I can go anywhere.
You're good at taking care of them to get 1 to 200,000 miles. That's impressive. Anybody else? Please.
The second car that I bought from you guys, I bought for my son because once he turned 16, we kind of were buying the fixer-upper cars that were really, you could just pay cash and go on, but they were always breaking down and they were unsafe. So I had already bought one car from you guys, and I knew that the cars that you offer are reliable, they're safe, still had a warranty, and he still is driving that car now. Probably has twice the mileage on it, but it's in Michigan, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful vehicle, and reliable and safe for the family. So, thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. I saw a hand go up back there. Who?
Oh, I just wanted to add, also, once you buy a car, and if you have problems, and if you go back to the people you bought it from, half the time, they don't remember your name or want to deal with you, but at Auto Advantage, I did get my car. It was kind of the evening. I didn't get to see some things, Ended up having a broken tail light, needed some tires, and I went back, and they went ahead and fixed it and made it right, gave me new tires, fixed my tail light, and I thought that was really good.
Those of you that have worked with Richard in particular, Richard and I have been at the dealership together since the end of 2003. And Richard taught me something a long time ago, and then all of the guys that work there all understand. Our job doesn't start till after you buy a car. So I appreciate you saying that. It's really easy to classify one type of salesperson or an establishment as all being bad. Our guys won't make it through Richard and I very long if they're not interested in remembering you and knowing your name and getting it right after the fact. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's probably not something that I would have thought about just sitting here. But that's my favorite thing about our dealership. The guys all know their customers. And they're in a tough spot because I have an elephant memory. So you guys have never met me, and I know all of you for the most part. And so they're under a tough test because I remember who waited on who, what people bought, really strange things for some reason. I even know what people traded in that I've never, ever talked to. 15 years. But thank you so much for that. Not that all of your comments haven't been good, but I appreciate hearing. And he's not here with us this evening, but Robert's been with us since we opened. His mother was having some health issues, or he would have joined us this evening. And I don't know if I know anybody that cares more about our customers and is more excited to talk to somebody that's angry than Robert. Literally, he can't wait to pick up the phone, even though most of the time it's never going to be a good start. And that's critical to our business. We wouldn't be where we are without him. So I hate that he's not here this evening. Who else has something to say?
I was gonna say, we had the same experience, you know, like when Amanda got her car, her backup camera wasn't working, and that was fixed and everything. Same way with our oldest daughter with their vehicle and everything. You know, anything that was wrong was fixed. So anything, you know, we were righted with our thing. We had an issue with our battery, and we were told just to go down to AutoZone and, you know, get a battery, put it in there, and anytime anything was wrong, it's been righted. And that was one thing that really impressed me, you know, from Richard, Blake, BJ, you know, everybody has just been absolutely wonderful. Just an absolute, you know, a pleasant experience all around, when car buying for us have always been, you know, a horrible experience. But, you know, we love coming to Auto Advantage.
Richard and Eric both, they're great. That, you know, one of the things that we tell new salespeople when they start there is, look, you live in this community, your children are educated in this community, your wife or husband works in this community, you go to church with somebody, you're gonna sell these people vehicles. And you better be ready to be in Ingalls and turn down the vegetable aisle and stare somebody in the face that may or may not have had a great experience every time, and figure out how to correct it.
And I always thought that when you bought a car and you signed the paper that said as is, that was it.
It is.
You walked off the lot and they don't take care of you anymore.
It
But
is.
that hasn't been the case.
Yeah, because
You
we
know,
want to
there
be rational about that. You know, if you called us a year later, we probably have to tell you no. If you call us the next
Right.
day or the next week, we feel obligated
Right.
to make sure that your experience stays good, solid. Because your daughter coming back and buying doesn't happen if we didn't look after you the first time.
Right.
And we don't lose sight of that. And it helps that Jason and Freddie and BJ, they care. That's their nature. The reason that they're good at selling cars is because they can't wait to meet people. They're interested in the conversation, not just you buying a car. And then I don't know that anybody can talk with people and remember people and get out like Richard does. I'm sure almost everyone in this room at some point has had to deal with him. And once again, he's got 4 kids and a wife that works in the public, and so he gets it. He understands what it takes. Anybody else have
Well, I think you were about to say, like, what your expectation was of not getting help after the sale?
Me? Oh, yeah, I just never, I didn't think that we would get that help, you know, because like I said, you know, when you sign the paper and it says as is, you know, that's it, that, you know, anything that happens to your vehicle as you drive it off the lot, you know, that's just tough. But that hadn't been the case, you know, I mean, like I said, as soon as we drove our truck off and we went to put gas in it and everything, we turn it off and we go to start it and it doesn't start. Well, I think it was the next day or so we called, and I'm not sure if it was Blake that we talked to or who we spoke to, but they told us to go ahead and come in, go to AutoZone and get a battery. And it wasn't a cheap battery either. You know, it was a high-end battery that was put into our truck. And, I mean, anything that has been, I mean, we had some kind of engine problem or something, and that was taken care of. Every wrong between three vehicles has been righted.
And I think that's one of the bad raps that come from buying used cars. Some people don't put any kind of effort into, like you say, you know, sell the car, go on, I'm not going to see you again or whatever. There's a bad rap out there, I think, because a used car, no matter how much due diligence you do, there's always going to be a possibility of something hidden that you don't know about, and it puts you on the spot. And so when you're actually out driving the vehicle and, you know, a week later, 2 weeks later, you know, something crops up that, you know, you wasn't even aware of, most used car places is you're out there, and it's not true with Auto Advantage. Like my wife was saying, you know, if you want to make sure that the right thing is done, hey, this came up later, well, okay, I know it's as is, but this came about to your vehicle after you drove it off, and you get that sense of responsibility from everyone there at Auto Advantage. Like you say, you want to feel like that, you know, you're part of the community. So you get that feeling when you go back in and say, well, this happened, and, well, you know, and you're expecting a runaround. I mean, it's really a shock, you know, when you come in and, oh, okay, well, you know, go get this taken care of. Okay. You know, and so I think that's, and that's a big plus, because when you buy a used vehicle, no matter what the due diligence is done on researching the vehicle, you never know what's going to pop up that, you know, that you don't know about. And as long as you're there to take care of it, that's what matters. And that's what's always been the case with Auto Advantage. And that's why it's about time for another vehicle with us, and we're coming back.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Blake and BJ's keeping an eye out for, they already know what we're looking for, so I don't know that vehicle's been built yet, but.
It happens.
And ours is a 2008. So, you know, we had a little bit older vehicle, you know, to deal with, but it's been great. We've not had any problems at all with it, you know, it's just been absolutely great.
Awesome. You looking to say something?
It's kind of a spur moment when we went there last week with my son, and we were just driving, and I have some experience with Auto Advantage before. This is my second car to them. And then we went there, not knowing that, you know, we're not going to get some car. We're just going to go in there and then just see around. And next time I knew, I got a car. And I didn't even knew that I'll get it. You know, it's just kind of a sport moment. And when we came there, we were actually greeted right away with Tiffany. And right there and then, a really good customer service. And after I drove that car, I found some minor issues. And when I found it, I told them about it. And then, you know, Blake was there helping, and she said, we got to make it right. And it's been taken care of. and now, and then that car is, I'm really happy with it for, for the customer service you had there and great, accommodation that you have given to us. And I really appreciate that one. And also, next year, my son will be driving, so then he has experience that we'll make sure that we'll go there.
Thank you.
I'm a first-time car buyer, and what, I've bought cars with my husband before, but it was the first time that I had bought a car all on my own, because I've lost my husband. But I was treated with respect, and everyone had said, now you be careful, because they'll just take you if you don't. But I was treated with respect and was treated great. And I appreciated it and they've been, like they said, I had a problem and they fixed it right away. And we had bought 3 other cars before that, so, but it was very nice to be respected as a little old white-haired lady that didn't really know what she was doing. Thank you.
No, that was awesome what you just said. I appreciate it, and it's hard to get back there with the sound of the camera right away. So will you go over there? Do you mind saying that, that it was the
Oh,
first time buying a car by yourself again? Because
Oh
it's
my
really
goodness, I don't know if I can say it again.
Well, it's a really important point that a lot of people worry about, whether they're a first-time young buyer or a first-time person on their own buying a car.
Well, when I went in, I had never bought a car by myself before. I was the first time. And I had my teenage grandson with me, and they thought it was for him. And I said, no, it's for me. And they were very respectful and didn't treat me like I didn't know what I knew, what I was talking about, and were just most helpful. And I've had a problem like she had, and they fixed it with no problem whatsoever. And I think one of the best parts was that I thought I could get my money the next day, and I wasn't able to do that, and they were more than happy to hold my check until I was able to do that, and I was just so pleased. And, when you're a little white-haired lady, sometimes, sometimes people try to take advantage of you, and Auto Advantage has not done that. Thank you.
Anyone else on that one? It's a good conversation. One of the things that go ahead. Raise your hand, please. Hold on one sec, he's coming. Okay, thank you.
I got to give credit again to Robert and the service crew there. A couple days after the first snow, again, I didn't know anything about four-wheel drives, and this one was all electronic. And something got in somewhere, and it didn't work one morning. And I called them up. I had no clue what to do, and they're like, well, there's no warranty, but they sent somebody to my house to check it out and made sure I could get it going. And I took it up there. They took it right in immediately, fixed the problem. They said, this is what happened, this is why, and just be careful with that. And it was, I don't know what the cost would have been, but I know they saved me a fortune on what I would have paid anywhere I took it to. And same with giving credit to Brett and them, the financing. They made it so easy. I did not expect. I expected to walk in and them tell me what I was going to be able to drive out with, but they didn't. They said, what do you want and what can you pay? And that's what I did. And even with that broken down 250,000 mile truck I brought in, I rolled out of there without a penny down that day and didn't have a payment for a month. And so I got going back to work again. I had the time to get the money so that I could make those payments. And exactly the way they arranged it for me. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So one of the things that seems to be, so it was your first car, and you're kind of worried about budget, 200,000 mile car, unreliable, probably waited that long because of retirement income, retirement, Air Force income. I'm hearing a lot of, hey, it's either, I had a big concern about budget coming in there and what I could get, and I ended up really happy with what I got. That seems, and that's a common theme with our customers. Our customers are not, they're not going out writing checks for $80,000 cars. That's not our customer. Our customer's on a budget, and they want good transportation. They want to get to work. They need a four-wheel drive. They need a third-row vehicle. It's stuff like that, but they're not going to pay 60 grand. And so they're wondering, how long do I have to drive this 200,000 mile car and worry? Or how long do I have to wait as a first-time buyer and walk, or hitch a ride from mom, or whatever, or drive my old hand-me-down before I can get a car. So if you want to start a conversation about that, if anybody wants to, it seems like it was underlying a lot of the answers, so if you want to elaborate a little bit on that.
So we want to,
Either the cost.
we want to know
versus
the reason, what they felt in savings, what they felt was the driving force.
Yeah, just how much of a concern budget was, and how, kind of Auto Advantage is the best answer to that, really. It's true. And it seems to be the case with a lot of our customers, and I'm hearing it, I think, in an undertone here, that 60 grand's not gonna be the story. And 700 a month's not gonna be the story, but what can be the story besides driving this 200,000 mile car, or not having a third row vehicle and pulling around in two cars everywhere if the family's going somewhere? That's not a good story, but neither 60 grand, so what happened?
If you guys don't mind, basically what we want you to do is we want you to tell us what you needed and how we helped you meet that need financially. Because at the end of the day, everybody is having to buy a payment and their need. And so our goal is to get you what you want for what you can afford or need to afford. In many instances, it's what you need to afford. We would all afford more. We'll all live higher on the hog if we could, but most of us cannot. And our goal is to always help you leave with the most important thing about your next vehicle being met and a payment that you can achieve. So if anybody has any input on that, we'd love to hear it. Ma'am?
It was also my
Hold
first
on,
time.
Hold on, sorry, but just till they get set up.
Oh.
Hold on just a second, they'll get on.
Please.
I had the same problem. I had never bought a car before by myself. And I did have some issues with financing, but they worked it out, and that was really helpful. I was able to buy a car at the price that I wanted to have it.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you. Somebody in the back? Yes, sir.
Prior to us coming to Auto Advantage, we had gotten to another deal with a car that we kind of got pushed into, which is another thing I've heard. A lot of people are enjoying the cars and love the cars, from what I'm hearing, that they're in, not going, oh, I'm satisfied. They love the car that they're in. As for us, we said we would love to have the vehicle that we looked at, but we wanted to keep the payment the same, which is exactly what happened. And not only did we get out of the car, we were very unhappy, and we got one that we were very happy with. So that's a lot of thing I'm hearing too, is people are really happy that with the car they got, and that you can get a nice car and have the payment you would. The dealership that we went to prior showed us about 4 or 5 different cars and said, hey, this is your one, and then ripped the carpet out from underneath us and said, well, not quite. And then finally get us in the car, and we drove off. We said, this is terrible. So when we drove off the lot of Auto Advantage, we did not have that feeling at all.
With having a hand-me-down car, it was paid off, so I've never had any kind of car payment to make, and I've never had established credit of any kind. I've just been kind of trying to slow the bus on the whole adult thing, and so when I went in, and with previous places, them hearing that I didn't have established credit was like, sorry, we can't really help you. You know, if we do help you, it's going to be really expensive, and just like stuff that I didn't want to deal with. And when I went to Auto Advantage, not only did they not cause a big like fuss over not having credit, they were like, all right, well, you can do this. This is going to be your payment, and we'll work with you from here. And the payment at first, the first discussed one, was a little high for me for not, ever having to budget in any kind of payment before. And they were just able to like work it down, and like Blake was just out of this world, like with lowering the payment, lowering my interest rate, and just really helping me be able to. I also left not having to pay a down payment for another month or so, and I was able to work really hard and like save that money, pay that down payment, and I can afford my payment every month. And they were just incredibly helpful for being first time and not knowing what I was doing. They could have easily been like, okay, well, this is good. No, trust me, this is a really good rate. And I would have had no idea. I'd be paying like 25% interest rate, $700 payment every month, and I would have no idea. But they helped me, and everything's great. And I've never had problems like with them when it comes to money at all. Financially, everything's been great.
Yeah, we're behind the scenes. Salespeople might refer to me sometimes as the man behind the curtain, but what it really is that my job is to assist Blake, Eric, and Richard and the salespeople in combating your story and your interest with the lender. 90% of our customers finance. So of all the cars that we've sold, most people are on a payment. We don't want you to pay any more interest rate than you should. We take it personally. If we don't like the interest rate, they're charging you, and we'll call them. And that's one of the cool things about our job, is that we get to go to bat with your story and your need and convey that message to a lender so that you're not a number anymore. You're Pat from Asheville, you're John from Weaverville, whatever the case may be. We paint your picture, so when the salesperson meets you and says, what's the most important thing about your next vehicle, because I know you've all heard it. And the next question is, what's the most important thing about your budget, because I know you've all heard that. The reason being is that we're starting to build your picture to the bank. And so they're asking you questions that sometimes may not make sense, that I've asked them to ask. And that's the reason, is that you all have a wonderful story. You all have a great reason for being in the market, for being able to afford what you can afford, for wanting to buy what you want to buy. And if the more of that information we can gather, the better we can make the deal for you. And that's really my favorite part of what we do, is getting that information and driving your point home for you, being really a third-party negotiator. It's not just about haggling on prices.
Can I add to Amanda's story?
Please.
She got a better interest rate than we did.
Well, I'm sorry.
We've been buying cars. We've been married 34 years, been buying cars. She just adulted the first time. She got a better interest rate than we did.
Christopher was off the day you bought.
No, I remember the deal. It's on me.
No, it's awesome. No, I'm glad she did, because she, like she said, she can start building up her credit. And that's what she needs as a 24-year-old adult. She needs to do that, because we weren't able to do that at that age. So I'm glad that she did get a better interest rate than we did.
Hey, Jason, will you comment now, because that's a really good point that Christopher's talking about, and it's very true that when we go out and talk to you and say, hey, what's the most important thing about your next car, and what's the most important thing about your budget, we are asking you stuff in order to be your advocate. We've got 200 cars on the lot, we've got 15 lenders, and we are going to advocate for you. We're going to advocate that you get the third row vehicle, if there's any way possible. We're going to advocate that you get the four-wheel drive upgrade for your work truck needs for work. We're going to advocate that you get safer transportation. So talk for a second about that that your training when you got to Auto Advantage taught you to say that stuff. and you're proud to say it, you're proud to go out there, because you know, and you've seen us at how hard we do advocate for the customer based on their answers and their needs and their story. That every story is different, and we're behind the customer.
One of the things I really like about,
So they're ready.
one of the things I really like about working at Auto Advantage is that I get to go out and meet customers and help them find the vehicle and the payment that they're comfortable with, and gives them the best the best solution to the situation that their life has them in. My training and experience at Auto Advantage gives me the chance to make people's dreams turn into a reality, lets them leave in a vehicle that they're happy and satisfied with at a payment that doesn't bankrupt the family, and lets them live a happy life.
And also say, so when I ask, because this is the things people hear, they hear us say 100% of the time, what's most important about your next vehicle, and what's most important to you about your budget. We, unless we're not doing unless you meet an untrained salesperson or the one who's not doing his job, you hear that. But it's very intentional. It's not, it's to get the story so that we can advocate. So say that specifically, that, hey, when I say, what's the most important thing about your about your next vehicle, and what's the most important thing about your budget?
We mean it.
I know we're gonna use that to advocate for you.
So when I greet a customer and I ask them what's the most important thing about their next vehicle, and what is the most important thing about their budget, I'm trying to find out that information to help with the situation down the road, so that we can advocate on behalf of the customer with the bank to make everything go smoother for the customer and satisfy all their needs and wants.
Well, Blake, you wanna say the same thing, same type of thing?
So yeah, when a salesman greets you and asks you a couple of questions, one being, what's the most important thing about your next vehicle, and the other, what's most important about your budget, we ask these questions for a specific reason, and what we're ultimately trying to do is just paint a picture for the bank to get you the absolute most car for the least amount of money.
Awesome. Christopher, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, it's not any fun, and we have days like this, unfortunately, and some of you maybe have been there those days, when we can't make a car on our lot match what someone can afford. We're furious. I mean, Richard and I are angry at ourselves. How did we get in a spot where we have somebody that would buy a car from us and wants to buy a car from us, and our stock, our situation won't allow us to help them? We take it personal. Not to say that it would keep us up at night, but I mean, it ruins our day. Because we live there. You come there, we live there. And when you want to be strong in the community, and you want to always be able to hold your head up when you see somebody, when you're walking to your kid's ball game or into church on Sunday morning, or down the frozen aisle in Ingalls, it stinks when you run into the person that had to buy somewhere else. And it's not because we lost the business, because you were there. And that happens. But we use that in our training. So we remind our salespeople, do you remember when that customer was here and we didn't have the car? So that when they tell you, look, I know I don't have a lot of options for you, we're not saying that because it's in our best interest. We wish they would all work for you, and then you could just literally stroll up to any of them. That's not a reality. And so we're asking those questions. We want to know from you what you're trying to accomplish, not just so that we can advocate for you, but so that we can make the selection process easier. When there's 200 cars sitting around or 500 cars sitting around, that's mind-numbing. That makes for a difficult decision. We don't want to pick your car for you at all, but we want to pick your options based on what your answers were. That's how people leave happy. Now, are there customers that come in that have to buy it? We only have one car that works. I've just told you, there's times that customers come in, we don't have a car that works. And that's just business. But on the human side of it, the personal side of it, we genuinely care what you leave in. And most of the time when we appraise your trade-in, it's not even our value. It's what we can call around and find someone else to pay for your car. And the days where we meet everybody's need and everybody left at a payment they want to do are the days that it's fun to ride home. You know, it's a little easier to come back to work tomorrow. And the days that that doesn't happen, it's hard. It's not easy to be a salesperson. You know, Jason sells a lot of cars, Freddie sells a lot of cars, BJ sells a lot of cars, Blake has sold a lot of cars, Richard's been involved in thousands and thousands of deals. It's not simple. But because we have so much experience, we can simplify it. And that's my favorite thing about listening to what you all have had to say, is that everybody met somebody that they liked. Everybody found something that they were willing to buy that helped. I have very limited customer interaction because I'm the one on the phone. And it's way more fun to not just leave with what you wanted, but leave with what you could afford. And that's been our message for a really, really long time, and clearly it's happening. Anybody else have a story of what they needed to have happen that we helped make happen for you?
I needed another truck for my business.
Hold on one second. If you guys can, just kind of notice this boom mic, and so when you raise your hand, he starts getting in position, and just wait till it's over your head. Sorry. Hold on up here, yeah. Okay, it's on the back.
Ready?
Ready.
I needed another truck for my business. I pull big equipment. All my trucks that I have are 150s, F-150s. I needed a F-250. Anthony took me in, asked me what my needs were, took me for a ride in it, let me drive it, showed me all the bells and whistles that it had. Within an hour, I was back home in a new truck.
Awesome. That's the storybook salesman position to be in. We've got it, you like it, you can afford it, let's do it. That's what we hope when we greet everybody. That's not what always happens, but that's the storybook finish for us at Auto Advantage. When we train and we talk and we meet, we're trying to make sure that we know how to match up to you at what you want, not what we want. Doesn't matter what we want. You know, we've told Blake for that many years, Blake means it now. When Blake says, it's not about me, it's about you, he means it because he cares, and we've trained on it over and over and over, that you've got to identify what somebody needs and then apply the math to it. Anybody else?
We have the back row.
No?
Give me a second, I ghosted.
It happens.
Done forget. Okay. Dealing with Brett, I had the same issue with the finance thing. I came in that they had already priced what they were going to get for my truck, and it was around 500 to 1,000. And you talk about being an advocate and stuff like that. I went to the lenders for the one vehicle I really loved and liked on there, and I took for test drove, and I had to have this. And he comes back, and the first thing the lenders say, you know, the truck's worth nothing, and they want a couple grand, and they'll only do a short note. And so the payments were far above what I could handle. And I was like, there's just no way I can do that. And he said, no, you're not going to take that. You know, we'll get this right. And I sat there, and he went back, and he come back and said, you're not putting anything down on this. This is the payment you wanted. This is what you're going to pay, and you're leaving today with it. And I was like, you better not be kidding me here. You know, this is not funny. He's like, it's yours. And he said, you need a ride to go get your truck? So he fought for it and got me exactly what I needed. And I couldn't have asked for more. So I'm happy to pay for it.
Jason up here had something.
Me. Doug in the front row. One of the most important parts of my job with interacting with customers is to make sure that I don't show them too much vehicle. Too much vehicle leads to too much payment and the customer being unhappy with the payment and at the same time not being able to get their vehicle. So it's very important as a salesman at Auto Advantage for me to be able to clarify those things at the beginning of my interaction with the customer to find what they need in a vehicle and what they can afford in a vehicle to make sure that we provide them both of those things so that they can leave happy, satisfied, and return us another satisfied customer down the road.
Anybody else that we haven't heard anything from or that thought they wanted to say something when they got here that we haven't done yet?
So I found a car I liked, and so I went up and I saw Blake and took it for a test drive, and I'm like, I fell in love, I gotta have it, but no way. So the first thing we do, we get back from the test drive, and Blake says, what can you do? What's your payment-wise, budget, and all that good stuff, and he worked for me. So basically, he went in, and still, I'm thinking there's no way this is gonna be possible. He comes back, and within an hour, hour and a half, I went away in a new car.
Perfect. You were going to say something?
I just wanted to elaborate and say that our last experience in buying a car was awful. I felt like they would have sold us a tricycle and kicked the kid off of it if we would have bought it. Just because we went through every single car, several lots. They didn't listen to what we said. We were specific. We have specific needs. We have a budget. We have 5 kids. We don't have a lot of wiggle room. And I just felt like your company is more of a can company, is what we all want to hear. We can do this for you, instead of we can't do this for you, or how about this, or what about this option. I loved, this is what we can do for you. This is what's going to happen for you. And if it wasn't going to be to that amount, it was changed to where it was even better, and it was amazing, amazing experience. Walked away happy. We will be back.
Yeah, some of you probably heard this too. We'll tell you. We'll shake hands and part friends. If we can't make the deal be the one you want it to be. We recognize it's your money, not ours. You're the one on the chop for it. It's what we do for a living, but we all had to go out and find homes. We all have to go out and find cars. We all go to the grocery store. We all have to buy clothes for kids. And so we constantly remind ourselves to be in your shoes, not in ours. Because just sitting in our shoes, we won't sell anything. We have to get in yours and match up what you're trying to do, or we can't stay open as a business. So every single thing we do is about the next customer, the next opportunity, the next person. Who can we help? Because without that mindset, we won't sell as many cars as we do. And it wouldn't be worth being open 7 days a week and being there 6 or 7 days a week. If we're not going to just open to open, we open for you. And that's constantly the mindset that we try to make ourselves have, for that very reason.
All right, we're gonna do a quick battery change on a couple of the cameras. Is everybody doing all right? We'll wrap this up when we get. Let's do a 5-minute break. You just gotta use the restroom. Grab a piece of drink. And remember where you're sitting. It's in the same spot. Restrooms are through this curtain and down the hall across the bottom.
Sound is. You heard a tone?
No tone.
It says there's a tone there.
RB, we need you. Put the cracker